we are here to focus in on the topic of roots of resistance. Take a moment just to gaze your eyes on this handout. See what stands out to you. Don't need to take it all in. Don't even need to understand it all. Just take a moment to have eyes on this handout. So the Business Miracles Path from Resistance to Resilience is a teaching that I introduced at the fall 2017 in-person training retreat. And it feels like forever ago. There is so much that has changed in our world since the introduction of this teaching. Yet our nervous system wiring as highly sensitives remains the same. Now take your eyes and bring it to the bottom of this handout, this chart, specifically to the words choice point. The words choice point that hover in between shame and grace. We are being brought to choice points more frequently and more quickly than most of us have ever experienced in our lifetimes. We are definitely being brought to choice points more frequently and more quickly than we were in 2017. At this particular moment, this is a particular choice point at the midpoint of a turning point. The collective turning point is an experience that we are in the midst of here and now. So at this point, your resilience will be challenged. Your resilience is being challenged. Yet now is the time for three particular elements to consciously be cultivating in order to continue to access resilience. And here are those 3 points. Point number 1, courage. Point number 2, determination. Point number 3, flexibility. Courage, determination, flexibility. Courage is for moving forward into your next step. Not courage to conquer all. Next step. Determination is for doing whatever it takes to follow through. Not distraction, determination. Not getting it all done perfectly, doing whatever it takes to follow through. Flexibility is for adjusting and refining as needed during this erratic and unpredictable time. This moment here is a good time to plan ahead, but with adjustments when necessary. Right now, in this collective experience, at this time, you will experience a tension created by seemingly opposing influences, pushing and pulling and pulling and pushing, and forcing decisions that you may not feel ready for. Yet, tension can be a proactive energy that fuels change and inspires you to action. It comes down to what do you choose? Eyes again on the handout in front of you. particularly to the words choice point, hovering between shame and grace. It comes down to, what do you choose? Is it to default to shadows and coping mechanisms fueled by shame, activated due to the tension? Now, why would we do that? If this tension is collective, which I'm sure we can all look around us here and now, wherever it is that each one of us lives, and we see, and as highly sensitives, we feel the tension. It's everywhere. Everyone's experiencing it right now. As highly sensitives, when we are untrained, we interpret that tension as our fault. It's that unconscious interpretation based only on previous nervous system experience that will trigger us into those shadows and into those coping mechanisms. Or will you choose grace? Will you choose to answer the call of this midpoint, of this turning point, and utilize this choice point to master this particular aspect of your nervous system functioning? Meaning, tension can be a proactive energy that fuels change and inspires you to action, inspires you into resilience. A very common, highly sensitive experience, which is fear of even the possibility of overwhelm. Fear of even the possibility of overwhelm. Not the fear of overwhelm, the fear of even the possibility of overwhelm. It's this fear that is at the root of most highly sensitive resistance. According to Dr. Elaine Aron, founding researcher of the highly sensitive person, for HSPs, we have known what she refers to as unbearable emotions. Unbearable emotions is that explanation of the fear of I won't be able to handle it. So look again at the chart in front of you. And I won't be able to handle it, which hovers right above the stop. According to Dr. Aron, unbearable emotions is what causes highly sensitives to be even more cautious about every aspect of life. In my language, the highly sensitive entrepreneur and leader shadow of overprotection. Dr. Aron also says, but alas, her words, strategies to avoid unbearable emotions truly limit life. My words, defaulting to coping mechanisms. According to Dr. Aron, she says, we fear what has already happened to us. That is, fears are learned. But sometimes, according to Dr. Aron, we don't remember having had an unbearable emotion. So we don't know we learned this fear. Also, according to Dr. Aron, She says, I think most often unbearable emotions happen in infancy when we certainly don't remember them. She goes on to say, whatever the source, conscious or unconscious memories, fears of what were at the time of unbearable emotions can truly play havoc with life. We set up defenses against such pain that we don't even know about. And this is the fear of even the possibility of overwhelm. The root of most highly sensitive resistance. Now, for myself, when I first discovered this concept and this work of unbearable emotions and the fear of even the possibility of overwhelm, I made a choice. I did not want to live beholden and imprisoned by this fear. So I developed, based on auto writing guidance, my original first, what I called 100 days of dedication. It was a core practice that I committed to consistently. So then the question becomes, again, what do we choose at this point? And if you choose the path of resilience, if you choose grace and grit in the midst of these exceptional times, then it's important to be very clear about how you are going to be in action. How are you going to choose to access resilience through grace and grit? For those of us here, we turn to the tools designed specifically for us as highly sensitive entrepreneurs and leaders. You turn to the tools as the way of your how, especially because now more than ever, you will be tempted by the way of the 80%. So here are two particular hows. If you choose the path of resilience, if you choose grace and grit. Number one, auto writing. These are questions that I worked with in my original 100 days of dedication to move through that fear of the possibility of even being overwhelmed. Auto writing question number one, what do I need to know to feel safe today so I will take action to grow my business? And then if needed, if I needed more clarity or more specificity based on the response I received from that first auto writing question, I would follow up with this second question. What exact growth action do I need to take today? And if I was resistant to the answer I received to that second question, I would ask, show me how to release my resistance to taking this action. Tool number two, the second how weekly, monthly, quarterly assessment. You can use this approach either weekly, monthly, or quarterly. For myself, at the end of each week, as I am updating and preparing my next week's focus, I ask myself this question: where is my resistance? This is my response to the things that got lost, missed, avoided. This is my response to the items that are rolled over week after week. If needed, I ask that same question, reviewing a full month. And I always ask that question as an assessment at the end of a plan before going into my next plan. And if I really find myself mired in resistance, I turn to ancestral support for inspiration. I look to others who have created something out of nothing. Some of my most recent favorites: Maya Angelou, Dolly Parton, Julia Child. You think you're the first one to go through some difficult times? You think we're the first ones to face such collective global turbulence? Will you choose to fall prey to the fear that the media feeds on and outside circumstances? Or will you choose to put in place core practices and tools to manage your own relationship with the fear of the possibility of overwhelm, resistance, and choice points? Bottom line, what do you choose? Breath in and let it out.